So now you've got your event booked, you've been on the Firewalk instructor training, and it's time to put the event together. So what I'd like to do is just share with you my thinking process when I go through this so that I make sure I have an absolutely outstanding event. So I break it down to three areas, and the first area has got three things that I like to think about. The first thing is, what are you going to do? In other words, what specific things are you going to talk about in your event to bring empowerment to the group that's there? You've got a whole tool bag of things, but you need to narrow it down to the things that you are going to do in your event. Okay, so get that all planned out thoroughly. The next thing is, what are they going to do? Because you've got a raft of things that you can do, but you're going to get people to engage in exercises or do certain things that you've learned here. You need to specify out what they're going to do, and especially how long it's going to take them to do it. When you see me demonstrating at the Firewalk instructor training, that comes from 21, 22 years of being involved with firewalks and all the different things that we teach you. But when you first do it, you have to be methodical, and either you have to rehearse tremendously or give yourself the leeway of the time so that you can make sure that everybody gets through the exercises. But really think about what you're going to do. When I first started, I put everything in there, and I found that my seminars overran by 3 hours. You don't need to throw everything in. Just make sure that you know exactly what they're going to do and how you're going to present it and do it. Then the next most important thing is, how are you going to do it? In other words, what is your style going to be for the particular group that you have in front of you? What is going to be the way that you're going to present the particular metaphor? Is it going to be focused on something that's relevant to them, or is it going to be something general? So these are the things that you need to really think about when it's approaching an event. And if you get these mapped out, then the rest will come easy. Now the thing is all of those things fall into 4 separate subcategories for your event. For me, I want my event to have 4 things that I'm basically doing. Okay? Now, at some point, you want your audience to be listening. Okay? Where they are really focused on the things that you're saying, on the information that you've got for them, on making an impact on them so that they commit themselves to the things that you're going to be taking them through over the next few hours. Okay? Then the other thing that you're going to be doing is they are going to be doing stuff. So they're going to be doing exercises. Okay? At that point, you're going to want your audience to be paying attention to the things that you have told them previously. The next thing is that at some part during the seminar that you're presenting, they're going to be thinking. Now that is really important, because it's at that point that you're getting your message across. Otherwise, it's just a parlour game. Firewalking, as we know, is fairly simple. Breaking an arrow with your throat is fairly simple. It's fairly easy to do, provided you have the right training. However, once you start attaching it to things that are important to them and their lives, then That's the thinking bit, and that's the thing that makes your seminar valuable. Okay, so when they're thinking, they're putting it all together. Now, the other thing that you need to be thinking about is all of these things, they come together, and they come together when you are presenting. Okay, so once your seminar, once you've got it down to, you know, what they're going to do, what you're going to do, and how you're going to do it, you need to think about your presenting skills. You need to think about how you need to present the specific elements of the seminar. Because if you want them to think, you have to get them into a thinking mindset. You know, if you want them to be doing something, you have to be presenting in a way that gets people animated. And if you want them listening, then you need to make sure that you have their attention, that they're quiet, and that they're taking in the information that you have. So once you've got your overall objectives, you've got the 3 things that you know you have to do, then it's about planning these things. And I put these into what I call the 7 E's of success for an event. And what I'm going to do is go through those with you now, piece by piece, so that you have all the things that I do when I put together an event. So as part of the 4 areas of your seminar where you want people to be engaged, so of the listening, thinking, where you're presenting or where they're doing, the most important one, if you want to get a message across, I think is listening. And so we're going to go through the things that I think are important if you want to get people listening properly and the things that they have to do. The first thing for me is that they have to have empathy for what you're saying. What you need to be able to do is you need to be able to empathize with the message that you're getting across. So if you're talking to people about having greater confidence, then they need to get a sense that at some point you didn't have the confidence that you're showing on stage. Because one of the things that we teach at the Firewalk Instructor training, of course, is we help you to develop massive amounts of confidence at the drop of a hat. So what's important is that for your audience, that they don't get into this, well, that's not me. So you need to be able to develop ways of communicating with them that get them to understand that at some point you were in that position. So with that we call empathy, and we talk about them being able to connect with you at some point in your life. Even if it's being honest and saying, you know what, there's something that I'm not happy with now, there's something that I don't do very well now, but I'm working on it, here's how I'm doing that. As long as they can think to themselves, I'm in that position or I was in that position, then you'll get empathy with your audience. The next thing is you need to be able to explain in a way where they get it. So you need to be able to tell them why you're doing the thing that you're going to do, the exercises that you're going to do, and why. You need to be able to explain to them what it is that is the reason behind it. Now, you might be secretive about it. It might be a little bit like the fit, you know, where some of the things you don't know what you're going to get out of it. But if that's the case, then you still need to explain the exercise in a way that gets people engaged and committed to do it. So you need to be able to explain what they need to do and how they need to do it so that they can understand what it is that they need to do. So just remember, this is in the listening stage. You need to be able to get people so that they're listening to you, especially when you're explaining the things that you're going to do. Okay, so now what we're into is we're into the areas where they're thinking. So the first thing that we want them to do is we want them to basically evaluate or examine what they've just done in a positive light. So if it's firewalking, then setting them up so that it is scary, setting them up and getting them to think about the things that they've been frightened of in their lives, getting them to connect the two things, getting them to connect firewalking with fear. So that afterwards, when they're thinking about, wow, look at what I did, look at what I was frightened of, why should I be frightened of that anymore? Or if it's ahead of the firewalk, then, oh my God, I'm frightened of this, but I'm not as frightened as I am of firewalking. So getting them to evaluate one thing against the other is something which you want to bring into your seminars. Getting them to examine their thinking, getting them to think about what it is that they're frightened of. This I found is a key element to this seminar. The other thing is that you need to be able to get people to endear themselves to you. And this is sort of connected with the empathy bit, but if people can't connect with the things that you're saying, with what they're thinking, then there'll be no connection there. They'll just have nothing in connection with you. So it's about connecting the stories of your life or other people's stories or metaphors to the process of the exercises that you have and the talks that you give that really get people to understand that you're coming from this place of you've experienced it, or you know what they feel like, or you know what they're going through, and they can have faith and trust in you. So you need to be able to endear people with the stories that you have of others, that you've shared with others, or that are of your own. And we help you in the more advanced courses to develop those so that it makes you a better speaker, because connecting with your audience is one of those things that when they're thinking about things, is the thing that will make sure that they have the best experience, and also so will you. So once we've got those sort of compacted, then we're into the doing part. So then you need to think about, what is the experience or the exercise that you're going to take people through. So what is it going to be? Are you going to have a firewalk? Are you going to have a glass walk? Is it going to be an arrow break? Is it going to be rebar? What is it going to be? You need to be able to take them through the exercise in a way, and by the way, these aren't in any particular order, but you need to be able to take people through that exercise in a way that connects all of these evaluations and all of these thinking things. So all of the listening needs to be connected with all the things that they're thinking about, needs to be connected with the exercise. So once you've got all these things and you've got the exercise that you're doing, then part of your thinking and part of your planning for your event gets closer. Now the next thing is really all about the things to do with presenting. I believe that this thing is key. Energy. Sometimes things don't go the way that you want them to, and sometimes you have to step up, or sometimes you have somebody in the group who's particularly negative. And so when you've got those people in your group, you need to step up. You need to raise your energy and potentially the groups as well. But not only that, you have to make sure that you have the right energy for the group that you have in the room. So, for example, I've seen really seasoned presenters who have pretty much a stock way of presenting, which is perhaps to CEOs, to corporates, and then they have an event where perhaps it's a charity event where it's a mixed group, or it might be a group of people who have been hurt, or it might be people that are going through trauma or whatever, and they use the same presentation, and it absolutely bombs because they haven't taken the time to match the energy of the presentation with the energy of the group and to scale it up throughout the presentation. So you need to make sure that you have the right energy for the group that's in front of you. But more importantly, for me, is to make sure that you have an abundance of energy so that you can step up. There might be days where you're not feeling great. Well, when you don't feel great, you need to feel great. So step it up and work through it. Normally you can, with the enthusiasm of a group of people, that normally pulls me through. So you need to have the energy and the right energy, but I would say an abundance of energy. Because for me, for example, my particular style is quite corporate. I tend to have more of an analytical style. I love the fact that I've read 400 books on personal development and neuroscience and psychokinetics and all that, and kinetic energy and all this kind of stuff. I love to bring that out. So that left brain thinking is not very pleasurable to hear. It's like down your throat kind of information. So when I get to a regular group, I have to step it up a bit. I have to do something different. I have to step out of my more left brain thinking, more teacher style thinking, and actually get on with it. And remember that the people that are there to have a good time and to break through some limiting beliefs. And that brings me on to the final thing, which is that basically you need to be enthused and entertaining. There we go. You need to be entertaining. We are in the world of show business. If you want to be booked again by the same people who have just booked you this time, if you want them to book you again, then you need to entertain. You need to have a smiling face when it calls for a smiling face. You need to be a little bit demonic when it needs to be demonic. If you've got somebody in the room who's a bit of a, you know, greyback gorilla type, you need to be able to look at them and frighten them a little bit, much to the delight of the rest of the group. You need to be able to step up into that area of entertainment, because you want people to go away and have had an absolutely fantastic time. It's the way to get more business. It's the way to get more referrals. So you need to be entertaining. And I would say right from the get-go, get them early on, get them laughing, get them wooing, get them, oh my God, get them frightened, get them laughing, get them joking. Get them so that they have a full range of emotions, and it's all connected with you, so that they have a good time and also you have a good time. So those are my E's for a good seminar, for a good course. I hope you've enjoyed them. You know, this is just, we go into these in a lot more detail in the Firewalk instructor training and in some of our more advanced events. But if you use these as a basis for making sure, almost like a tick box, that you've got all of those covered for your event, for all the things you've learned in the Firewalk instructor training, then you're almost guaranteed to have a good event. Okay, so if you've got any questions, anything else that you'd like to know, then obviously do pick up the phone, contact us, or send us an email, info@firewalk.co.uk, or contact us here at Success Formula, and we'll be happy to help. Thanks a lot.